Guys, we're just fiddling around with some technology. So I will let Jasmine introduce what is happening today whilst I fiddle around with this technology. So Jasmine, off you go.
Hi everybody, welcome to the Friday Confidence Clinic. This is where Aaron and we come together each week and we talk about important topics to support families and educational institutions. And today we are going to be talking about the importance of emotional awareness, because especially after the holidays, getting back into the routine at school, at work, for families, students, sometimes we can sense the feeling of overwhelm, anxiety, stress, and many more emotions. So we just want today to talk about and introduce this huge topic of, what emotional awareness, emotional well-being, and how it actually can affect our confidence and our stress levels and our quality of life, actually. So today we're going to start off with, sorry, I've got so many faces here. Today we're going to start off with, what actually is emotional awareness? What is it? So if I asked you that question, Aaron, what would you say?
Well, it's a difficult one, right? What is emotional awareness? How do you understand how aware you are of your own thoughts and feelings and things like that? And I think before we dive into that, we have to sort of understand, what these things are, how they affect us. Because a lot of the time you can be feeling stuff and just not really know what it is that you're feeling.
Exactly.
Some of the easier ones, anxiety, feeling worried, stressed out, that kind of thing. So, what is emotional awareness? Well, realistically, it is understanding how you're feeling about stuff. Some of the ones are a little bit easier to think. So, for example, if you're feeling angry, well, that's a pretty easy one to
identify.
What we like to call big emotions: anger, sadness, joy. These kind of things are pretty easy, but they're also very extreme. Like, you can't be in a constant state of joy. You can't be in a constant state of sadness. You can't be in a constant state of anger because they're just very big and very difficult emotions to have running all the time.
Exactly.
I'm pretty sure that you'd end up in hospital if you're in a constant state of anger, because you'd end up with ulcers, and people do.
It's true. I mean, it can lead to illnesses, sicknesses.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's really starting to what is emotional awareness? We're just sort of like actually experiencing something and then taking a step back and going, well, how did that make me feel? How do I feel about that sort of thing? And we are going to spend a little bit of time talking about social media today as well.
Exactly.
And how social media impacts that sort of thing. But the first and foremost thing that we really want to look at today, especially as you said, is the impact that January has. Last week we were talking about getting back into to the routine of things, but many of us are living in Dubai, in Abu Dhabi, and the pace of life is relentless here. There doesn't seem to be any halfway point. No. It's either 100 miles an hour or it's completely dead.
And especially in that situation, when you're so busy, when on earth have you got time to even acknowledge your emotions, let alone identify them and process them in a healthy way? And that's what we're finding, especially when I'm working with students. They're very stressed, so stressed out, which, and there's no time to do anything. It's just right, on to the next thing. I don't have time to even think about how I'm feeling. I need to do this. And we can get caught up in that cycle, can't we? And this is what we want to really talk about today, is, like we said, the importance of emotional awareness and how, when we do stop and start acknowledging, how we're feeling, we can then respond to those feelings in a healthy way. We can process them and we can move on with our day, and we feel better actually, because like you were saying about the anger, it's very unhealthy to be in that state for long periods of time. I mean, especially, even something like when you're eating, if you're angry and you're eating, that's really bad for your digestion system. Your body cannot even get access to the nutrients.
It's
Simple things like that.
But it also does things like takes you away from being present.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, okay, there is a physiological aspect to it, and that is that, your body can't digest it properly, whatever, you've got lots of, chemicals running around your body that are behaving in different ways, causing different things.
Yeah.
But also you're not present, so you're not actually enjoying the thing that you're eating.
Exactly.
And I've got this big thing about food.
Yeah,
and
me too.
Its cultural and societal significance. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter where you're from, who you are, or anything like that. It's a commonality, right? Everyone has to sit down and eat.
Yeah,
and
exactly. Some people don't sit down. That's the thing. Some people don't even sit down.
And that's the thing. Like, you have to find that time to be able to do it. And I know it's easy to say, "Oh, you have to find the time," but it's bringing your thoughts back to this is what we're talking about, the emotional awareness kind of thing. It's like, oh wait, hang on a second, I shouldn't be sat at my desk. I do have a break at lunch that I can utilize, so utilize it.
Exactly.
It's almost like mentally unclenching. If you consider, if you're gripping something like this, like how quickly your muscles would get tired, right? And this is something that anyone who's practiced any martial arts will very quickly discover, right? If you're doing martial arts where you have to do grips, or you're striking martial arts where you're constantly punching or kicking or things like that, you can't do it forever. You have to literally unclench, because your muscles get tired, and there comes a point when you just can't do it. And if you try and force and clench and hold on to something when it's time to not do that, then you don't have the strength to continue later on. Exactly. And if you keep forcing, and this is what we mean by recognizing and understanding the emotions that you feel. And again, we're using anger as an easy one, because it is such a big emotion, and it's one that everyone is very familiar with. But that's the reality of it, right? Is that if you hold on to that thing, if you don't let it go, if you don't become aware of what that feeling is, then all of a sudden it takes over, and physically you can't eat. From a mental perspective, you can't concentrate.
You don't think well when we all know it's not a good idea to make a decision or respond to an email or do anything professional not just professional, personal as well. When we're feeling angry, we're bound to make the wrong decision. And and I've done that so many times in the past, where I've been so angry and triggered that I've responded. And I'm like, what did I do? What did I do? Because when you calm down, you don't feel the same, do you?
No.
You feel completely different. So again, it's about everything that's linked to emotional awareness as well. We will probably be talking about the power of the pause, when you just stop for a few minutes, and so there's a lot to emotional awareness, of course, but we would just want to talk about some simple things that you can take away today. And I would say definitely the power of the pause. When whatever you're feeling, before you respond, react, just stop for a few minutes, even if it's for 1 minute, or they say count to 10. You could even count to 10.
Yeah. So, I mean, let's sort of go back a little bit and talk about, because again, this is very appropriate for some of our older students, the students that you work with. GCSEs are just around the corner. Stress. You say just around the corner. I mean, they really are, right? They're not coming up until the summer, but A levels.
But this is what
you know, and also, you know, parents at work and things like that, you know, it's a new season, you know, the meme of, you know, oh no, the circling back is finally coming home to roost. Well, yeah, okay, it really is. So, and that can produce a lot of overwhelm and stress and anxiety. And I think it'd be really a good idea if we could sort of help people to understand what overwhelm actually is. How does that feel? You know, what are the symptoms and signs that you should be looking out for? Because you might be overwhelmed. You might think, oh, I've got this, I'm great, you know, I'm getting up, I'm going to the gym in the morning, I'm, you know, eating right, I'm, you know, not drinking alcohol, I'm going to bed at a good time, you know, but I still don't feel right. I still feel like it's never ending or anything like that. So, you know, what should we be looking out for when it comes to
children,
for children and for adults?
That's a really good question. And I just have to say, actually, before I answer that one, it's important to know as well that we can feel so many emotions at the same time. You know, you can be feeling anxiety and overwhelm, or anxiety and maybe a little bit depressed as well. You know, we can have a mixture of emotions, and that's why sometimes it can be very overwhelming. I think actually that's what does lead to overwhelm, even more than overwhelm itself, is when you're feeling a number of emotions and you can't even, you know, you must have had that experience when you're feeling so many emotions, maybe anger, stress, anxiety, sadness, you know, so many. And those emotions can be very overwhelming because you can't identify them. You're feeling them all at once. And it's sort of waves. They can come in waves as well, can't they? I know for me, when I'm feeling overwhelmed, normally it's more than one emotion that I'm feeling. And this is what overwhelms me because it's such an intense feeling. I would say, you know, I can just talk about my experience of overwhelm and anxiety and all of that, because I think I know there's very common symptoms for all of us, but I think we would experience them in different ways depending on the level of each emotion as well. So of course it's complicated, but I think talking about it is what really helps. So for me, yeah, so when you're feeling overwhelmed, I feel like it's a feeling where I feel like I can't see a light at the end. You know, it's just like so many feelings, and it's very intense, and I just can feel completely stuck, don't know which way to go, and just praying that the feeling will end. You know, that's how it feels to me, overwhelmed. But I know now what to do when I'm experiencing that.
So, just to sort of give you know, an alternative understanding of that as well. A lot of the time, what overwhelm sort of feels like is this this desire to want to do nothing.
Exactly.
It creates this
yes.
complete inertia. And
this.
when, you know, in you know, a previous life when I was working in agencies and things like that, I would experience overwhelm, and you know, I'd walk out at the end of the day and I'd still be like, oh, I've still got, you know, so much stuff that I need to do, and I need to do this, and I need to do that, and someone's chasing me for this, and you know, someone's on my case about this, and
they're the thoughts.
you know, but the thoughts that I actually had is that I would see, as I'd be walking down the road, I'd see some guy sweeping the streets, and I'd be jealous of this guy because the only thing that was expected of him was to clean the streets.
So you think?
From my perspective at that time,
yes.
This is the way that I was feeling.
Yeah.
I was so jealous because nobody was on this guy's case. He was working outside. He was making the world a better place. This is my perspective.
Yeah.
Does that mean it's the truth?
No. Yeah.
So I would be like, I wish I had that level of lack of responsibility, because I'm so overwhelmed with everything at this moment in time that I just want to be left alone. I just want to do nothing. I just want to stand there and, you know, I would have traded places with those guys in a heartbeat at that moment in time, because I didn't know how to fully process and understand what I was feeling.
You just want to run away as well, I think.
Absolutely.
I think the feeling is just get me away from this feeling as quickly as possible, because I'm drowning. You know, you can just feel, and I think especially for students, you know, when you're a child or teenager, you can still have those feelings, and these feelings seem even more impossible to manage.
But often
they're the same intensity.
It's the first time that many of them will be experiencing that thing, and again with the exams and stuff like that.
Exactly, but I think you made a really good point. You know, when you were looking at that man in the street, and of course it's your perception. We don't know what people are going through, and that's the whole thing. We don't know what people are feeling. Like, we really have no idea. You know, you look at people, you know, in class, like Wi-Fi students come to me, it's like, oh, but everyone knows everything, but, you know, I'm too scared to raise my hand. You know, we always hear this. Like, oh, why? Because people are going to think I'm stupid. But how do you know that they're not feeling the same? Oh, they're not, it's just me. You know, we do have this feeling sometimes that we're the only ones who are feeling this emotion. And let me tell you, we all experience these emotions, because that's the thing about being a human being, isn't it? We all experience this. You can't see these feelings, exactly. So that's why we do need to talk about them in the right space, because it's very easy to assume that you look at somebody else, oh, they're okay, everything's fine for them, but no, you know, people don't know how we're feeling because we're thinking about our own feelings, aren't we?
Yeah. So, you know, in terms of overwhelm and things like that for our you know, for our older students,
yes,
you know, like I say, exam time coming around the corner, yet again. You know, for adults, obviously, you know, Q1 needs to be smashed. We've all got our targets, and we all need to, you know, make things a big deal.
The pressure.
You know, the pressure that you get. So, you know, how does overwhelm feel? Well, you know, it can feel like a sense of dread. I mean, I'm fairly sure that most people have experienced this. They get up into work, you know, they get up, they trudge out of the door, and the anxiety level, the closer that they get to work, just rises and rises and rises and rises and rises. And it's like, as soon as those lift doors open, it's like, you know, walking headfirst into an active battle scene.
Yes. For students maybe entering school as well. I've had students who, you know, dread going into class. But it's interesting that you picked up on it, because you said overwhelm, anxiety, dread. These are all separate emotions, and quite often they come together. Fear. So when you think, if you're experiencing just 4 of those emotions, it can feel impossible.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's important to be able to sort of like recognize those things as well.
Exactly.
One of the other things that really does contribute to this is the apparent need for unlimited productivity. And what happens, I've done a lot of research in this. I try to be as productive as I possibly can.
Really? Do you?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the reality is that it doesn't matter who you are. Okay, from the person that is sweeping the streets to people running the country, you only have 55 hours of productivity in your week. That is a fact.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
You cannot perform beyond that. So what happens is that your productivity levels are really, really high. And so this is actually a really, really good tip for students who are doing exams and things like that. You can't just revise. You have to revise for an hour, take a 15-20 minute break. Then you have to revise for another hour and a half, 15-20 minute break. It's like the learning curve, right? It's just in a short thing. Because what happens is that your focus and your concentration, it's on a time limit. It just drops like this. And when you get to the end of 55 hours, your productivity nosedives. Like, studies have been done on this across multiple industries, multiple people, multiple countries, and your productivity nosedives. And it is categorically better to stop doing what you are doing and completely
do something else
than to try and continue to do that work. Because what happens then is you have negative productivity. So your productivity drops off the edge of a cliff. You try and continue to work, but what happens is that you make more mistakes, you do bad work, and then you have to spend more time in your actual productive hours going back and fixing those mistakes.
Exactly.
Which means that you end up having less productivity, which means that you have more stress because you feel like that you've got more stuff to do.
Totally.
You don't. You've only got that amount of hours. So you know what?
Yes.
Take your lunch break. Walk around outside. Ain't nothing going to be done, right?
Yeah. No. That's It's amazing when we actually realise this. I mean, it's taken me not long ago actually until I realised that. Hang on a minute. I'm so stressed. Let me just stop instead of forcing myself where I can't even think. You just can't think, can you? There's no clarity at all. I just want to say hi to everybody who have joined. We have lots of people today. And, if you have any questions about this, please feel free to put them in the comments. Or if you have any comments, anything. We love hearing from you as well, because we all have different perspectives on this and different insights. So please share. But no, exactly. So the thing is, knowing how to manage our emotions in a healthy way makes us productive.
Yeah, I mean,
that's definitely and healthy.
The first step is to recognize that they are there, right? We're talking about emotional awareness.
Exactly.
It isn't normal that you walk out of the office or school feeling completely burnt out. That is not how you should be feeling every single day.
Yeah.
It's not normal that
crying every time,
all
the time.
You cry when you get home. It's or that you finish school. It's not normal that you've got absolutely no energy, or you just go from one extreme to the other.
Yeah.
That isn't how you shouldn't be feeling.
Yes,
you shouldn't be feeling like that. And it's so important to understand that if you are feeling like that, then something is wrong. And that's when you have to start taking that moment to sort of sit there and reflect and go, okay, this isn't good for me. Sometimes you can, as you said, like you're waking up in the middle of the night, sometimes you'll find that you'll just be sitting there and your heart will just be racing and you have no idea why.
Yeah. Definitely.
That is not normal. That's not something that should be happening.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean, like, when you say not normal, it doesn't mean that it could be something seriously wrong. It just means your body's telling you time to address this and maybe make some small changes. And of course, it's okay to have these feelings now and again. We're saying that it's not normal when you're always feeling anxious or always crying, and it's affecting your studies, your work, your everyday activities. Of course, we do feel these feelings as a human being, and that is normal. That is normal. We're saying we don't, if it's affecting your day-to-day activities.
So if you I don't know if anyone here has read the Warrior Method, but if you haven't read the Warrior Method, please drop us a message and we'll be happy to get a copy out to you, written by Sebastian Bates. Which is also his birthday today, so happy birthday, Sebastian.
Happy birthday. I've already sent him a
message. There are times when stress and anxiety are good.
Do you think?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me, because I don't know about it.
There absolutely is, because there's something called the high performance zone.
I don't know.
So put this in the context of sports. Okay, if you're going into a championship game, okay, this is for the title, the league, the belt, whatever it is. If you go in there and you have absolutely no anxiety, and you don't feel stressed about it at all,
if you don't feel anything,
one of two things is happening there. You are either supremely confident that you are going to win, which is great, or the other end of it is that you are not prepared to be able to perform at the highest level that you need to. These things are there for a reason.
I know what you mean. Exactly. And that's why I really try not to say our feelings are not positive or negative.
But you definitely shouldn't be feeling like that on a daily basis.
And it's different levels as well. But like you said, sometimes, these feelings are ways for our body to give us messages. It's an important tool that our body has. We need to use it correctly. So yeah, of course. And if we're not feeling anything, then there's something wrong.
I think it's really important to remember this is that it's really easy to identify when you feel unwell physically.
Yes.
It's,
Sick. I
yeah.
feel sick.
Oh, my stomach hurts. Oh, I've got an earache, or oh, I've got a headache.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's really, really easy to be able to identify that, and you go and do something about
Yes.
it.
And no shame. You don't feel shame or embarrassed, do you?
No. But it doesn't make it any less real that you feel burnt out, or you feel anxious, or you feel exhausted.
Yeah.
So why would you not recognize that?
Exactly.
And these are perfectly legitimate things to recognize.
Yeah.
And so when, again, going all the way back to the start of this conversation today, when we talk about, overwhelm and things like that, these are the things that people should be looking out for.
Exactly. And I think you hit the nail on the head as well. When we do have a headache or earache, we talk about it and we find a solution because we don't feel embarrassed. But this, with emotional awareness, there's not enough awareness out there, because sometimes we just feel embarrassed, or we feel shame. Maybe we've done something wrong if we're feeling anxious, or, we're going to look stupid. So we don't talk about it, which often dissipates the whole emotion anyway. And we don't seek any solutions. And then we react, and maybe we become more anxious about the anxiety, and then it's a downward spiral. But like you're saying, if we just respond to it how we respond to any other problem that we have, we can solve it. Just by conversation sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, a problem shared is a problem halved, right?
Exactly.
Okay, fantastic. Well, we're almost out of time on today's Confidence Clinic. I think this is a really great topic. Next week, we're going to be spending a little bit more time diving a bit further down into each one of these things. So it would be really, really great to have you back. If you've got any questions that you would like Jasmine to answer, if you've got any questions about, martial arts or things like that, then I'm happy to answer those questions as well.
Yes, we can talk more about that as well next week, about what we're going to do.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, look, what we do here at the Warrior Academy is, martial arts is a vehicle to help grow people's characters and things like that. So I'd be more than happy to discuss a few of these bits and pieces as well. But please do send in your questions, your comments, your thoughts.
Yeah.
We will do our best to answer those. Just before we go, Jasmine, can you give us your links to stuff where people can find you, so that they can talk to you in a little bit more detail about these sorts of things?
Thanks, Will. Jasmine Navarro, LinkedIn, Withnava, Withnava, Instagram, withnava.com, my website. But yeah, please feel free to get in touch, especially if it's on the topic of emotional awareness. Of course, you can message any other thing to do with family wellbeing challenges as well, but emotional awareness is definitely the topic that we're diving into in the next couple of weeks as well. Today. Yeah.
Fantastic. And if you would like to learn a little bit more about the Warrior Method, and how the Warrior Method has helped thousands of families and young children to rapidly improve their confidence, conduct, and concentration, then please go to warrioracademy.ae, or find us on social media. All the channels, we are there. Send us a message, have a bit of a chat. Give us a call, and we would be more than happy to speak with you about these things.
And remember, you are not alone. We didn't touch on loneliness. That's another.
Perhaps that's the thing that we'll cover next week.
Exactly. And awareness is the first step.
Perfect. Thank you very much for joining us.
See you next week.
And we'll see you all next week.